Hey, what's going on, everybody? Knowledge here. I want to speak on a topic that I've been wanting to speak on for a while now, but it always slipped my mind. And before I get into my video, I want to say that I appreciate everybody that's been sending me video requests. I'll try to get to the ones that I find remotely interested, but I do have a busy life right now, so I'll get to them in due time. But I want to talk about, should you always honor thy mother and father? And I ask this question because this is a question that I think your upbringing plays a big part into how you would answer it. Whether you grew up within a two-parent or single-parent household, I would say even ethnicity. I think that will somewhat play a big part in answering this question. Now, when we look at it from a biblical standpoint, in the Bible, it does say honor honor thy father and mother. But I think there's certain factors that you have to put into place when you go to honoring someone in general, not just your mother or your father. And from my point of view, and I want to get people's opinions out there. Feel free to comment. I respect everybody's point of view, but I'm going to give my point of view on this subject. When we talk about honoring someone, I think honoring is something that you have earned. Anybody, like I've said before, can go out here, open their legs up, let a guy come in, bust a nut in them, and in a couple of months be pregnant. Or a guy can go out here, impregnate a woman, and just say, yeah, I impregnated her, but it's not really going to be a father to that child. And, like I've said before in previous my videos, I wasn't born out of wedlock or anything like that. My mother and father were married. And, not to put too much of my information out here, they got a divorce when I was at the age of 10 years old. My father went his way. I stayed with my mother. So I pretty much grew up in a single parent household. And when my father was in my life, we didn't really have too much of a close relationship. And to this day, we have a relationship, but I don't really, I wouldn't say I'm close to him. It's like, hey, that's my pops there, and that's about it. But when he went his separate way, he didn't really take care of his responsibilities. I wouldn't get any phone calls. A lot of things that you learn coming up as a man or a young man, I had to learn from my grandfather because he was the positive male role model in my life at that moment. So when I look at my own personal experience and I look at the stories that we hear out, not just within the black community, but the white community, Hispanic, so on and so on, about parents neglecting their kids, not just the fathers, because a lot of times people like to put it out there into society that it's always the guy that's leaving the house or not taking care of his kids. You have a lot of women out here that are not good mothers. Maybe they have the children in their custody, but they're out here killing their children. They're beating their children. They're letting men that they barely know watch their kids, and the boyfriend ends up coming in and killing their kids. All kind of crazy stories we've been hearing, especially within the past 2 to 3 years. So when I look at that, I think when we talk about honoring your mother, your father, it should be something that is earned. And I know a lot of people will say, well, doing necessary things like providing for your children and, keeping a roof over their head and clothes on their back and feeding them and so on and so on is something you're supposed to do as a parent. And that's correct. But also, it's not just providing. It's about teaching your child about having respect for themselves, having knowledge of self, having integrity, having honor, knowing how to navigate yourself through the world. And that's from a father's perspective and a mother's perspective. But if you have not contributed that to your child, I don't feel like you should be honored or even respected. Because as an adult and as a parent, you should always be in your children's lives. You should always give them the wisdom and advice that you have upon yourself. But we have a lot of part-time parents out here. Parents who, when the child is having issues in school, they're nowhere to be found. When the child needs new school clothes or needs to be provided for financially, they're nowhere to be found. When the child needs vital advice or needs information from the mother or the father to be able to make certain decisions as an adult or as a young man or a young lady, they're nowhere to be found. But when graduation time comes around, when your son or your daughter is playing some professional sport and they get an award and they're on TV, or they just, broke some type of record in the Olympics or whatever, or, they made it through college, or they didn't, a world famous scientist, or however you want to look at it, where we would consider a person has accumulate some type of success. And I don't just mean through entertainment or you have to necessarily be in the papers or on TV. I'm just talking about success. They want to come around. They want to say, hey, that's my son or that's my daughter. They want to be thanked in speeches. And I think that's complete bullshit, to be honest. If you have not been in your child's life, if you were not there for the grind, so to say, I don't feel like you should be honored. And I know a lot of people, they come from different backgrounds, and, we all came up different. We can be all black or all of another ethnicity, but we all come up different. Some of the same experiences we experience, some we don't. But from my point of view, looking at it, not just from, my upbringing, but just standing back and looking at it from a whole. If you were not in your kid's life, if you did not contribute the necessary things that you need to as a parent, you don't deserve to be thanked, to be honored, or even possibly not even acknowledged as a mother or a father. So, in my point of view, in my opinion, I don't think that, you should always honor your mother, your father, no matter what. Because, and when I say that, I don't want anybody to misconstrue my word. I'm not saying that you don't respect them as a person. But what I mean is that if it was your mother, that wasn't in your life, didn't do a damn thing for you. If it was your father that didn't do anything and really wasn't in your life like that, or didn't even care to be in your life, or your mother, I would have no issue, and I would completely understand if someone did not want to acknowledge their mother or father. And I think that, if you didn't grow up in certain conditions or even lived in a single parent household or experienced that type of lifestyle, some people out here wouldn't fully understand. You might have people who come from, a two-parent household and they've lived like that their whole life. So they're looking at it like, well, yeah, you should always acknowledge your mother, your father, no matter what. Even if they didn't do anything for you, you should acknowledge them. And I think that mindset comes from the fact that they don't truly know what it's like to live in those type of conditions. And if you never lived in those conditions, you've never experienced that, you're looking at it from a different mindset. But me being someone who, have experienced both sides of the fence, when I had both of my parents in the household and I didn't, I'm looking at it from both sides. And I could sit back now and say, you know what? All parents are not worth being acknowledged. If you're not around, like I said, for the grind and for the struggle, then you don't need to be around for the success or the happiness. And that's basically how I feel about when it comes to honoring or respecting your mother, your father. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't build a relationship or down the line, you can't have a relationship or love or whatever happened that was corrupted you as a child. It doesn't mean that you can't be fixed or you can't be at a solid ground. Maybe you don't have the best relationship with your father or your mother, but you guys are on a solid ground. You're able to, be at family functions with them or talk to them on the phone or share experience or get advice. But that all comes with time. But I think that you have to, if you're a mother or father out there and you weren't in your child's life and they don't want to have anything to do with you right now, you have to respect that. Don't mean that you don't try to have a relationship with them, but you have to respect that, people are going to have certain thoughts about you and certain feelings about you when you did not take care of your responsibilities. In life, we all have decisions and choices. That's what life is about. It's about making decisions and having choices. And we all have to deal with the type of decisions that we choose, being it good or bad. And if you mess up, you have to take the consequence. So if you're not in your child's life, or you decide to go out here and do drugs or commit armed robbery or whatever you do, you have to face the consequence of that. If you decide to get educated or start your own business or have some type of success in life, you get the consequence of that. So we all have to deal with certain things in our life, and I just think that everybody has to really sit back and analyze things. You can't always be biased or look at it from your lifestyle, your upbringing, or your mindset. You have to look at things from an overall perspective. But that's my opinion on it. You guys can give me your feedback on it. Should you, no matter what, always honor your mother and your father? But I'm out. Peace.